Hello and welcome to the Basic to Bold podcast. Today we have a guest. Before I get started and before I introduce my guest, I am going to tell you all the time that if this brings value to you, please like, share, because this will always be free. However, you can pay with your by sharing it and maybe even getting the word out to people that this could help. So we'll just dive right in. Today I'm really excited that I am having my first guest. I have been wanting to have guests on, but I wanted to make sure that I started with this individual because this is actually my husband. This is Brandon. And I'm Jennifer, for those of you who are joining us for the first time. And today we like to talk about, on this podcast, we like to talk about all things mindset, but specifically, how do we change our mindset and like in the different areas of our lives. And I really wanted to have Brandon on today because I wanted to talk about why shifting our mindset and how shifting our mindset literally changed our marriage for the better. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. So the first thing is, when we first got married, how would you describe our relationship, our marriage in the first 5 years?
The first 5 years of our marriage? Like, what was our relationship?
Yeah, would you say it was a healthy one?
No. Healthy, no. What was our relationship? Very immature. Very irresponsible. I'm not singling one of us out. This is both of us. We both had our own specialized issues, but I would say very immature, very sporadic, undecisive. We did not know how to work things out. Fighting, arguing. Yeah, there was a lot.
Yeah, I would ditto, concur. I would second that. There is, I would definitely have to say our communication skills at the very beginning were, I would say, non-existent. I would have to say, for me personally, I had zero communication skills, and I thought if you didn't just read my mind, then you didn't love me.
Okay. That's bringing back some memories. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate.
I guess I haven't really thought much about that other than the things that were an obvious train wreck in my memory. But communication skills from you, yeah, that I haven't really thought much about that, but you're absolutely right. Like, for example, I remember there was something that was needing to be done. I don't even remember what it was. And the first thing you did was call your dad and ask him. Yeah. And then after that, at some point, then you spoke to me about it, and you kind of told me this. It's not like I was upset. I mean, maybe I was a little hurt. Maybe that's the right word. But I didn't really think too much about it. So I was just like, oh, okay. I guess maybe that's what you're supposed to do. But I remember you went to your dad and asked him something, and he told you, this is like what I remember you saying, but he told you, you need to go talk to Brandon about that. Yeah. And that was a very new concept to you. And then when you mentioned it to me, I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, I guess you would talk to me.
Yeah.
Like, I remember thinking like, oh, well, I guess you didn't come to me. But then I thought about who I was, and I'm like, okay, maybe I could have come up with something. But as immature as I was, I could not fault you for it at the same time.
Yeah, I would have to say that was
a new concept.
That was a whole new
concept.
Come
to me, not somebody else.
Yeah.
Even though...
And I think, I mean, we could totally go down that rabbit hole as to why, but not that I really care to right now. But I think that really was kind of the first, and I would have to say that you really got to give my parent, specifically my dad, you really got to give him like props that they didn't do everything right. I know they tried their hardest, but at the same time, he really kind of geared me towards like, oh, I don't get to go back to my parents. Like you don't go back.
Right.
You don't go to anybody else. We're a team.
He handled things like that extremely well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I do remember that, and I remember thinking that was the first time in my head of any type of relationship thought of, oh, that makes sense. I guess that's what you do in a relationship.
And I do have to say that really set me up, because I think more than anything, it really, because I very much respect my dad. And so I would have to say that I took that not just as, oh, I need to go ask your opinion, but we are a team. And I would have to say, for the train wreck that we were, the first probably 5-10 years of our marriage, which it was a full-on train wreck, I would have to say that is one thing that is positive, that we really stuck together. And
yes.
Very, very rarely, I mean, I'm not saying I never vented about you, because I think I think there's a line that you can cross with venting, but at the same time, sometimes you got to talk to somebody, because if I talked to you about things that were happening and the feelings that I was having, it would have come off as unkind, not true, a lot of hurt feelings. So I think there is some good venting, not to you, but to somebody else. At the same time, I will have to say, I do think we do a really good job. We're a team no matter what. So even I may be venting about you, of saying this is annoying, I'm also very aware that I truly don't try to say anything that the person could hold against you. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Like I can say you're annoying. I can say you're frustrating me.
You don't put me down. It's more, not saying this happens all the time,
right,
but I know what you're talking about. It's not putting the other person down. Sometimes you just need somebody to get it out and work it out, and they're your sounding board. Your soundboard.
The other thing I will have to say is I have picked people in my life who are, they are not on my side. They are on our side. So for instance, many times, I think, okay, so like my mom, I have vented to my mom. And there have been plenty of times where she has said to me, like, I know you're feeling frustrated at Brandon. However, this is where you're wrong. And she has no problem telling me that. And at the same time, that's what I'm asking for. I'm asking for, I may be frustrated at you. I may be irritated at you. But I am looking where to fix it, not just let me put you down. And I want to be right.
Correct.
And so I purposely find people. If I'm going to vent to somebody, I'm going to purposely find somebody. I mean, if somebody comes to me and says, oh my gosh, he's horrible, just divorce him. I'm like, you're not the person. Because that's not the goal. The goal is not to like prove I'm right and divorce you. The goal is like figure out who's wrong, not right. Who. Figure out what is the problem.
What's happening.
Yeah.
And how do we fix it?
And if there's a problem in a marriage,
not let me rip on my spouse up and down and tell everybody around me, all my friends, how horrible you are and how much I hate you and what you've done to fail me.
Yeah.
No, that's not what it is. It is basically what you're saying. What is happening? Why am I so frustrated? And what can I do to fix it?
Yeah. Okay, so we are kind of jumping ahead. That's okay. That's okay, because I think that's a really important thing. And that is something I really wanted to talk about, because I do know a lot of people. I have a friend on one side where she won't vent at all. Like, she won't talk. She's like, I don't think it's good. And I'm like, good for you. Like, good for her. I'm kind of intrigued on the idea that she never has to vent about her relationship. I truly find that fascinating. At the same time, I'm like, I don't know if I could I don't know if I could do that. Just like hold it in, because I truly believe for myself, it would come out, but it would come out on you, and I don't think that's productive.
Well, I would like to throw something in there. I would say the difference between early relationship and now, we kind of do vent to each other. We are the sounding board for each other, which we're in a place that we can do that now, and we don't take offense to it, because I probably am doing something to really irritate you, or that I really shouldn't be doing, or vice versa, you know?
Yeah, that's true. I would have to say the longer our relationship goes, the more I can vent to you, because I can turn to you. I have turned to you multiple times and said, I know I'm blaming you. I'm not trying to blame you. I just need to work through this.
Right.
And I say that often, where I know I'm blaming you. I get that's what it sounds like. I get that I'm saying you're doing this and you're doing this and you're doing this. I get that. But that's not what I'm trying. I'm trying to get to the end of like where my part is. I'm trying to get to the end of like how we fix this. But I kind of have to blame. I kind of have to blame you just to get past that.
Well, you got to get out of your head what is stuck in there in order to sort it all out.
Yeah. Okay. So let's kind of back up just a little bit. What do you think mine definitely was communication. And what do you think in the first earlier years, your hang up or your biggest part was?
I would say, well, first, the thing that I feel that is more of my strength is communication. Not saying I always do a great job of it, but I definitely will communicate. I always want to talk. It doesn't matter who's upset, you know. I'm always wanting to initiate it. Maybe I'm a little annoying with it sometimes, but that is something I just do, which is actually a good thing because it does eventually get it figured out.
Yes, I am shaking my head for those of just listening. Yes, you are good at that.
And your question was, what?
Well, what do you think?
The opposite of good?
So what do you think? What do you think your weakness? Like, what did you bring in the beginning of our marriage that it was like, oh, this clearly is mine was communication and just read my mind. And if you loved me, you would do things without me telling you.
Mine wasn't reading my mind. Mine was extremely unrealistic expectations.
That's interesting.
Yeah, that's what I would say.
For me or for you?
For me.
Okay.
I would have unrealistic expectations for you.
Right. Okay. That's what it was. Okay. So you would have unrealistic. Okay, that's interesting. I could totally see that. Yeah. But then I wouldn't say anything. I'd just be irritated.
And then you would just get annoyed by it. Yeah.
That was fun. Okay. So here, this is really what I want to get down to is how changing, number one, why do you think we decided, like, how do you think we decided to change our mindset? Like, what do you think in our marriage made us want to change our mindset?
Made us want to change.
Yeah. Like, what do you think the difference is with people who, like, want to change and want to grow and want to move forward?
In relationships.
Specifically?
I would say you hit on it earlier. I would say the underlying thing is we were committed to each other. Like, we were committed. I mean, I'm not talking about when we almost got divorced on our honeymoon.
Oh, yeah, that's a whole other story.
I think we were even still committed then, but that was... We grew into being committed more and more.
Yeah.
But at some point, we reached we're in this for the long haul, for sure. I thought we were in the beginning, but then we'd have fights, and it was not good.
Do you remember when you thought, oh, I'm all in? Like, no matter what. The only way I'm out of this marriage is if Jen comes to me and says, I want a divorce. I'm never going to work on this. But, like, because I remember when I was all in. And it was not on our wedding day, which I find really fascinating.
When? When was it for you? I don't even
It was about
know that I...
10 years in. And we were, it was a really hard year. It was really, really hard year. And I had never really ever thought about divorcing you. Things had gotten irritating, things had gotten frustrating, but I'd never thought, I want out. And there was a point, and I remember it, somehow you had the kids and I went out for the day by myself. And which kind of at that time rarely happened just because of your job and just like the way our lifestyle was. It was harder for you to just up and take the kids. And that's a whole other conversation. Like there's so many things I should have done different. And you know what I mean? And communicating and stuff. However, it was one of those days and I went and I just remember thinking, I'm done. I can't do this. I cannot do this. And I don't want to do this. And then I started role-playing in my head, like the process of divorce and the process of getting out and the process of splitting the kids. And I thought, that sounds awful. And I remember thinking, how much work and how much energy and how much emotion is it going to take to go through all of that versus how much energy and how much emotion and how much time is it going to take if I just stay and fix it and really put the energy into fixing it. And I thought, they both sound horrible because they both are a lot of work, but they're just different work. And I thought, do I really want to go through trying to find somebody new? Which the reality is, this is probably going to happen again because I'm taking me with me. And I am part of the problem. I don't know what part of the problem I am. And I remember thinking, okay, that's it. I'm sticking it out. Not sticking it out.
Did we have a conversation about that? I feel like we did.
I think later on.
Because I don't think I had thought too much about it. In my head, I kind of was just default committed to you. And then I think you brought it up. And we had some discussion.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, that's really interesting.
I think somebody asked at some point, oh, have you ever thought of getting divorced? And I was like, oh, yeah. And you kind of looked at me like, are you serious? And I was like, oh, yeah, I should probably like.
But yeah. And then I started thinking about it. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, I don't want to get divorced.
Yeah.
Everything you said was accurate.
I thought if you would
have to.
ask me on our wedding day, I thought, oh, yeah, I'm all in. Oh, yeah, I'm all in. And even like the hardship between 0 and 10 years. Like, of course, I would say, of course I'm all, yeah, oh, I'm all in. But when I hit that moment, like I was for real, like, what does this look like? Okay, I'm going to go home. I'm going to look for a divorce attorney. I'm going to have to pay some dude to split half of our crap. Then we're going to have to figure out what that looks like with the kids. Not to mention, like, where are we living? And I just thought that sounds way worse than just sitting down and like paying for therapy or figuring out with you, like even if we fought for the next however long, but we figured it out.
I would say for me, I didn't really think too much about it other than the one episode on our honeymoon.
Oh, yeah.
Where I was extremely angry with you. You were angry with me. I was kind of shocked in my head thinking, really, this is it? It's over this fast?
We made it 10 days.
Couple days, whatever it was.
Yeah,
a few days. And after that, I would say you would just make me really angry. But I wasn't really, I would never consider leaving you. Because I think I was too insecure to even think about that.
Really?
Yeah. You know what I mean?
Interesting.
Like,
I mean that
I'm talking about before we really started working things out and I started fixing myself. I was extremely insecure.
I guess I don't.
So if
when
you like
say
the
that,
thought of you leaving me, I remember we had this conversation that kind of shook me. rocked my world that you would even consider that. And I was like, oh, wow. Like, that would devastate me in my head. I'm not saying I want you to leave me now, but if you were to leave me, it wouldn't devastate me because I'm in a better place. But I know you're not going to leave me because you're just not.
No. Okay, so why do you think the two of us are so committed? Like, what do you think it is that makes us so committed? Because I don't think I would be this. I've met other husbands, and I am like, I would not be this committed to you. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I look at the way that, like, what is it in your mind that makes you go, oh, I am forever?
It has something to do with the fact that you are willing to work things out. When in the past, when one of us has just been, no, I'm not even going to talk to you, that puts a wall up, and it's extremely frustrating. And there's not much you can do with that. When you want an actual good relationship that you communicate to each other, I would say it's that.
Yeah, I would agree. The fact that, like, I could be so irate and so, like, full-blown raging mad, but I know, I know you'll work through it. I don't want to say you'll let me yell at you. It's not that you'll it's not that you'll just take it for a minute. If you're like, all right, not that I'm a raging lunatic of a yeller, but at the same time, if I'm like, you did this and you did this and you're doing that and you're doing that, you kind of sit there for a minute and then you're like, all right, well, now what's really the problem? Like, what's really the problem? And I would say, I think I've gotten past that now. I don't feel the need to blame you. I don't feel the need to, like, put it on you. But I do know, like, I can say pretty much anything to you and you'll still get to the problem rather than leave it up in air of, like,
I would say listening to what you're talking about, it really has come down to fixing what's inside our heads, each of us personally, because if you're upset about something, you're upset at me, for example, I don't take it personally because, one, there probably is something I need to change, or you just need to figure out what is triggering you to remove that.
Yeah.
And I know that we're both committed in that way to keep improving ourselves. And when we do that, it's also, a matter of taking responsibility that, I guess it's kind of like that pride thing, that has caused a lot of issues in the beginning when you don't want to be wrong and you just want to fight and you want to prove or whatever. You're being stubborn. I'm angry and I'm not going to, like, take that from you. But when I'm in a good place and I don't have emotional triggers from wherever, childhood, marriage with you in the beginning, things that have happened in my life, I don't know. They can come from anywhere. When I don't have a stack of those that I can just pick from all the time, it makes it a lot easier to be like, okay, yeah, I see you're really angry. Not that I have to say this to you, but I don't have to take it personal. Like, okay, well, I might try talking to you. Say you're the one angry at me. I'll try talking to you, and you're like, well, I'll have to let you work through this, And then I'm here when you need it.
I think that's one of the biggest things that did shift is, so what we're talking about specifically is recently we learned about this concept, the art of allowing, and I highly recommend you go and learn about it. It's Esther Hicks, or Abraham Hicks, if you know that, Esther and Abraham Hicks. So go look that up. But this art of allowing is truly, even if the person is full-blown mad, you allow them to be that. I've often talked on on this podcast about being indifferent to other people's emotions, being indifferent to other people's opinions. It's a lot, like it's the same thing. That's kind of what she's talking about. And I think one of the things that for us has been the art of allowing is that whatever you're dealing with, that you're dealing with it. Now, if I have a part in that, I'm willing to be open to having a part of it, but at the same time, if you're going through it, I allow you to go through it, and I can sit here and just be like, okay.
You don't have to take it so personal.
Yeah, I don't take it in.
You realize it's me having the issue that I need to work something out.
Yeah. And I would have to say that has been the biggest change, because we talk about now like we're each other's sounding board, and we talk about now where I can like vent to you or you can like tell me, whatever. But I think the reason we can do that is because we both have really trained ourselves in this art of allowing, where you can be full-blown raging mad and just, I don't like this and I don't like that, and I'm like, okay. And you'll even turn to me and you'll be like, don't join me in this. And I'm like,
right.
I'm not.
I'm just having a bad day, bad moment. Just leave, don't talk to me.
Yeah, just don't talk to me. I'm like,
don't take it personal.
Okay. All right. And then, but the same thing with me. I'll be like, this frustrated me and I'm doing this. And you're just sitting there going, and I'm like, I'm not blaming you. I'm just trying to work through it. And you're like, yep. And so,
whereas in the past, I used to take it very personal, and with my pushing communication that I do, I would just I want to talk. Why are you upset? And I would just keep pushing it. Maybe in a way that was kind of a good thing, because we eventually worked it out. But I was just going to mention, when the first, you call it like the law of allowing, before that, the first concept of that was, I learned from you when you would say, you need to learn to be indifferent to things. That was kind of the first phase of it for me. The law, I look at the law of allowing as like a higher level of it.
Yeah.
But being indifferent, it's very simple, it's very easy. Just being indifferent means you don't need to be emotional about somebody else having an issue with whatever, with you, with, it doesn't matter what. Your kids.
Oh yeah, I even take it with our
job,
kids.
the way you're living your life, and just be indifferent.
Yeah.
And being indifferent makes it to where when you're not indifferent, you're triggered by something. You're suddenly getting upset and irritated. Something triggered you. Mm. Why are you not indifferent? Why are you getting upset?
Yeah.
And that's kind of, for me, where I think we started. And I really started to dig in and be like, okay, I don't like this about me.
Yeah. I would have to say the first thing that we started is, what's my part? I think that the art of allowing, or allowing people to behave, I think that has been huge. Mm-hmm. That's been the most recent thing. I think the first thing that, for me personally, if I were to say where we started, was, what's my part? And it really hit home for me. I remember one time I had so basically, what's my part is where you have a part in everything that's going on in your life. So if you become angry, you have a part in that, and then you got to figure out what part is going on. If you're in a bad relationship, that person could be totally horrible, but your part is you're staying there, or you picked that person. So you have a part, and now you got to figure out how to fix that part of you, or change that part of you, or that habit, whatever it is. And I remember I had talked to you, and we had kind of we were using this in our marriage. But I remember one time I was so irritated with you. I was so frustrated. I was so irritated. And I'm like, you are 100% in the wrong. I have no part in this. None. And I was mad for, 2-3 days?
For myself, just to insert this, at the time, I was in a great place. I was totally fine. My mindset was awesome. You couldn't make me upset.
Yeah.
And she came at me.
Yeah, and I remember we were better at communicating. So you said, "Are you mad?" I said, "Yes, but yes, I am mad, but I don't want to talk about it right now," or something like that. And you did. You gave me probably 2 or 3 days, and I was fuming mad.
I honestly forgot about it.
Probably. And I remember...
That's how far I've come.
I remember sitting thinking, you know what? I'm going to be the bigger person because I have a part in this. It's very small. I probably don't have a part in this. But at the same time, I'm going to figure out my part. And my part is probably like, I'm allowing you to be a jerk or something like that, right? Like, I was so just... I thought had it figured out. And as I looked into it, I thought, okay, I'm upset. Well, he can't make me upset. So what am I upset about? And the more that I dove into this, the more I was like, it's totally me. And it was totally an expectation that I had not even conveyed to you. Like, I had this expectation in my head that you weren't meeting, and I was mad because you weren't meeting this expectation, but I hadn't said anything. I hadn't told you I had this expectation. You didn't even know about it. And I was just like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe you didn't come home and do whatever. I don't even remember what it was.
I don't either.
Yeah.
That's how important it was.
Yeah. And I remember after about the 3rd day, and I realized I don't want to say I was in the wrong, because it's not like somebody's right or somebody's wrong. It was just, I hadn't told you anything. I had an expectation and I hadn't told you. So like, why am I mad because you're not doing this thing that I want you to do, but you don't even know that I want you to do it? And so finally, I remember I walked in and I said, you know what? I'm fine. You're fine. Don't worry about it. And you kind of looked at me and you're like, are we still fighting? Like, are we? And you were like, oh yeah. Were we fighting? And I was like, no, we're good. Just don't worry about it. And from then on, I mean, that was years ago. And from then on, I have always been like, anytime I'm mad, anytime I'm frustrated or angry, and it doesn't matter at who, at the kids, at some random person, family.
If you start off assuming it's your fault and you've been triggered and it has nothing to do with the other person, you're probably right.
Yeah.
That's a great place to start.
Yeah. And that's exactly
where
we
would
in
the beginning of our marriage, we would immediately jump to, it's your fault. You're the reason I'm stressed out. Mm-hmm. You're the reason I'm mad. You're the reason.
Yep.
And we just...
Oh, and not even just to you, like anybody else. Mm-hmm. It's the kids. They're the reason I'm stressed out. It's this.
It's my job. It's this. It's that.
Yeah. And now that's the first thing I do. I get irritated at something. I'm like, hold on. I am irritated. And even now, that's how I'll start with you. If you're like, are you mad? Are you upset? I'll be like, yeah. And I'm figuring out like what it is. Like,
and that's part of our communication. We communicate way better with that. You're like, oh yeah, I'm mad and I'm upset. I just need some time.
Yeah.
Give me a bit. Okay.
And I will have to say that is, I will take a few days to figure it out. And if I can't figure it out, if I haven't been able to figure it out, then I come to you and I say, this is what I'm mad about you, but I can't figure out what about that is upsetting me. I know I'm mad at you, but I can't figure out what it is that's triggering me, or what's the expectation, or what's going on.
And that's when we have a discussion.
Yeah.
Something that we used to do, I think that really did help, is we would talk to each other. In the beginning, we would have long talks. I'm sitting on the bed. You would be mad. I would be mad. One of us would be mad. We'd both be mad. But we talked.
Yeah.
That we kept doing it and kept doing that.
Yeah. I remember for like the first 5 years.
We'd have talks for hours sometimes.
Every Saturday was just us fighting on the couch.
but we did it.
Mm-hmm. I want to say even like, I mean, we were getting into 10 years and it was just like, oh, Saturday's coming around.
Maybe we just wore ourselves out.
Maybe just wore each other down.
Realize this is not the way.
Yeah. I don't have the energy anymore. You win. I don't care. Yeah. Okay. What was the biggest thing that changed your mindset? Like a book or a concept? What do you think helped you the most? Like kind of your biggest aha towards relationships?
I don't know that I could say there was just one.
Yeah, I don't know if I could say
because
one, but what's a big one?
I had to read and reread and reread and listen over and over and over and over in order to start changing my mind. I mean, there's all sorts of different books, but some of the really good ones, Carol Tuttle and The Child Whisperer. I know she has another one. I don't remember what it's called. Know Your Nature or something like that.
It's Just My Nature.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I actually enjoyed The Child Whisperer one more because I needed it broken down Barney style. I mean, I listened to that thing for like a whole year with other books as well, trying to figure myself out. I would say that was a huge shift. I listened to The Secret, whatever it's called, The Secret, I guess.
Yeah.
Or Rhonda Byrne, the audio of that. Just listen to that over and over. Another one that I love is The Power of Your Subconscious Mind. I can't tell you how many times I've listened to that. Listened to the original version, some other newer version. The Think and Grow Rich. I mean, I know that might not be specifically relationships, but it's all these different books and all these different things to start changing the way I see things in life. You know?
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing, is just realizing that the problem is me and the way I'm seeing it. It's my perspective. It's not everybody else. It's not you. It's me and the way I'm thinking about it.
Yeah. I think it's not my number one, but it is up there, and that is Carol Tuttle's The Child Whisperer, learning energy types.
Yes.
That
was a huge part of it for me.
Yeah, I've mentioned it on this podcast. I think I mention it every podcast because it's that important. When I realized how I think is so different to how you think, I'm not wrong and you're not wrong. That was very eye-opening. The fact that like my needs, the way that I think, the way that I process information, that's not wrong. But the way that you process information, the way you do things, that's not wrong either. And now it's finding that, going kind of back to that, the law of allowing, which is allowing me to be me, which is, if just going over it really quick, like if you read the book, it's 1, 2, 3, 4 on energy types. So mine would be a lower energy, very thinking, very, very introspective. And so the way that I think, like, it's like very analytical, and that's not wrong. But you put us together, and your way is very fast, quick decisions. Let's just go. We'll figure it out as we go. Yeah, we may make some wrong turns, but that's okay. We'll pivot really fast. And I don't do that very well. But then you slowing down and trying to meet me in this methodical, slow, like, that's draining to you. And so trying to find this balance of the law of allowing me to be me, you allowing me to be me, and the law of you allowing you to be you, and me allowing you to be you. Like, that's a whole other level of allowing. Because it's not trying to meet you where you're at, and you're not trying to meet me where I'm at. It's us being us and using our strengths in a good way while working together as completely different people. Like, it's a whole other level of trying to figure your relationship out. But it's amazing when you can figure it out, because I will have to say, now I see our strengths and I see, I should take over that, because that's my strength. Why are you suffering through something that you hate? You're not that you're not good at it, but why would you suffer through something that I don't mind doing?
Right.
And that was the whole other level.
And by understanding energy types, you're able to use your strength and not stress over it. Like I say that because I used to think, I had to do this. I had to force myself to do this thing that's really painful for me, that I was sucking at. Didn't like it at all, but I had to do it. Why? You're really good at it and you don't even care.
Yeah. And on the flip side, you're really good at some stuff. Why am I stressing out about certain things? Like, just hand it over to you, because you're really good at it.
And we'd done a lot of businesses, and we had read a ton of books. We tried, I think you've done more than me, different types of personality tests and this and that. I have to say, we've read a lot, and some of them were pretty good, but they were always missing something. They were always missing something. It was off some way. Just wasn't right. Until you learn about, like, the energy types. And Carol Tuttle, I know she's not the one that invented it or whatever, but she did a fantastic job of putting it all together. Props to her on that.
Yeah. Yeah. She even has a relationship section on her website, and it's lining up the different types. So if you're in a relationship, and not just an intimate relationship, but just like friendship or even a child
business,
like a business relationship. So if you have 2 3s together, what are your challenges and what are your strengths? If you have a 1 and a 4 together, what are going to be your challenges? What are going to be your strengths? And the thing that I found so funny, of course, I ran to ours, and the second she said, all right, this is going to be your challenges, this is what you're going to fight about, she was 100% on. Like, any fight, anything that has upset us, anything that we constantly there's contention, she was spot on. It was everything that she said. And I thought, okay. But then she also, the thing that I like about it is she talked about our strengths, which is good, because every couple has a strength and every couple has a weakness, and there's no perfect couple. Everybody's going to have a strength, everybody's going to have a weakness, and it's just figuring those 2 things out
and working together with that.
Yeah.
Some other books, The Magic of Thinking Big. I remember that was really good. One book that I listened to over and over, which I actually want to listen to it again, is How to Win Friends and Influence People. That was a big shift in the early days for my mind, to realize you don't have to be angry. You don't have to be stressed out and frustrated. You can actually talk to people, and it can be a win-win situation.
Yeah.
Including with relationships. Instead of, like a situation would happen and occur, and I'd just be really annoyed and irritated by it.
Yeah.
I didn't have to be that way anymore.
I can't remember if you said this, but Mindset by Carol Dweck, that I would have to say that was a huge book.
That's what I mean. There's so many. It's so hard to track them. That was a good shifter.
Yeah. Another thing that I found, I think this is more my brain, the way I like examples of stuff. And so I would seek out other people. Once I learned our energy types, or not even specific energy types, but like people who had lifestyles that I liked, that I was interested in, and I would see them and I would think, I like that type of relationship that they would have, I really started watching them, not to a point where I wasn't trying to be them, but I would definitely look at them and go, okay, how are they handling conflict? Or how are they presenting themselves when they talk to each other? They seem to have a really good relationship when they talk to each other. How are they talking to each other? And one of the things I noticed is we live in a culture where women really talk down to men. And I would have to say, if you would have asked me, I didn't like it, but I wasn't really registering that I did that as well. I don't think I was intentionally thinking you were an idiot. I wasn't trying.
If you did that, I don't think you did it that much, and you never did it to the extent of other women.
Yeah, but at the same time, when I started looking at these other couples...
But it would have been easy for you to do it.
Oh, yeah, it totally would have been like, oh, you're such a child, or whatever, you know? But I would see these other couples that I liked, and I was like, and I would notice certain things, and that was one thing I noticed is, oh, they never spoke to their husband like they were a child. They never, oh, he's, like the phrase... oh, he's such a child. That kind of stuff. I never said that. That kind of stuff irritated me. But the people that we were around, they would say that. And then when I found other people, I may not say it, but I was around people. And so like other things would slip in. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. And then when I started looking and noticing other people that I actually really liked their lifestyle and their relationship, and they were both mutually like being respectful, I followed them more. And so then it really started to separate myself from the people that I was like, I don't like, we're not thinking the same, and that's okay. Like, you have the relationship that you want to have. But then I kind of had a role model of people looking up to. And so I would say that's one thing, like with podcasts, not just with books, but I really started looking towards people who had the desired relationship or the desired lifestyle that I wanted to achieve. And that was helpful. All right. This is awesome. Any other thoughts?
No.
Perfect. This was great. All right. Well, thank you guys for joining us. As always, if you found value in this, please share if you think this could help anybody, because that is the whole point, to get the word out and to help as many people as possible. So thanks so much, and we'll definitely have Brandon back again because this was fun. See you guys.